box, he would not cough. Now, why is this? Well, it was only there, the cough was only there when his mind was idle enough that he had the ability to dwell on this tickle in his throat or dwell on the fact that, oh, I still have this cough. Okay? You'll notice this in a lot of different ways. They have this experiment they've done with people that have gone up to skydive. And the funny thing is that if anybody goes up when they have a cold or any kind of, lingering symptoms of a cold, like a runny nose or anything like that, during the plane ride up to the jump, all symptoms of anything disappear because their minds are so totally preoccupied on, oh my God, I'm jumping out of a freaking plane, all right? That's what happens. We only get into dysfunctional behaviors when we have too much time on our hands and free what I call CPU cycles. You probably know what those are. Your processor, your central processing unit of your computer has this time, and if it's being all used by computing something, by calculating something, that's one thing. But most of the time, your computer's sitting there pretty much going, duh, doing nothing, just handling the basics, and it's not much of a challenge. That's the state you want to avoid in your own life, in your own mind, because when you have that free time, when you have the ability to think about things too much, that's when we fall into these pits of depression, of uncertainty, of self-doubt, of low self-confidence. It's because we're sitting there and we're thinking about what we should be doing. Now, let's talk about the 4 beliefs. Here are the 4 beliefs. Number 1, what you already believe. Number 2, what you want to believe. Number 3, what you should believe in order to change into the person you want to be. And number 4, what you don't want to believe. Now, these beliefs kind of they find their way. They're like weeds that kind of get into every little nook and cranny of an old house. They manage to slip in some way or another. So think about this. What's most powerful to you right now is, number 1, what you already believe. That's pretty much dictated where you've gotten to in your life up to this point. All of your beliefs about yourself, your self-image, what you think you're capable of, how you see yourself and imagine yourself is where you are right now, because it's all you can be. Let me ask you this. Do you think Donald Trump has a different self-image than you do? Well, you know what? Other than a bad toupee, the guy has probably got nothing more different about him than you do. He's the exact same flesh and blood that you have. He has the same cells. He has the same arteries, the same blood, the same everything in him is pretty much identical to you, except for one thing only: what he believes. That's the only thing that separates you from the person that you want to be. So when I talk about what you want to believe, that's the number 2 belief. What you want to believe is what I'm going to be talking about a lot in this program. And we have to make that migration from what you want to believe to make it what you already believe. Now, ideally, we want to take the belief system number 3, what you should believe, and make that something that you want to believe. Now we're really talking here. We're talking about things that you know you should believe in order to change. What are some of these things? Well, a belief you need to have in order to change is, first of all, you have to believe that you can change, right? Can you believe that? If you can believe that you can change, you're on the way. Now, do you want to believe that? Oh, I hope you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this program. But is it something you already believe? Now that's where the rubber meets the road. If you don't already believe that you can change, it's going to be a little tough for you, and you got to work on that belief system. What's another belief we need to change? Well, another belief is that women don't want men to approach them. And it's absolutely, completely, totally false. Women want men to approach them. They want it. They want it badly. They just want you to do it well, not badly. So keep that in mind. What you need to believe in order to change is going to really impact you. And that's what I'm going to talk about in this program. I'm going to give you the belief systems you need to have in order to get the results that you want. All right? But you have to supply something. You're going to have to supply something for me. And you're going to get a tutorial on this in the program about how to do this. But you're going to have to supply the energy, the small bit of energy that you have, the willpower that you have, to implement changes of belief. And it will happen for you. It absolutely does happen. I can tell you positively from my own experience, you can change your belief systems. But here's the thing, okay? And I'll talk about this in the program as well. You'll hear about it on the CDs. There's a certain biological function that your brain does that reinforces already existing beliefs so that they're difficult to change. It doesn't do this to hurt you. It just does this to make sure that your brain works the most efficiently way it possibly can. In other words, if I regularly speak Italian and English, those circuits in my brain will actually change to be more resilient, to be faster conducting, and faster recall. It's a simple biological system. Your brain doesn't really know what belief you're forming in there. It's just creating the neurons and the patterns to do it. You're the one who dictates how that works. So it may take a little bit of willpower up front to make some of the changes. It's kind of like rerouting an already existing road. It was pretty easy to lay the road in the first place, but to change the direction or to widen it takes a little more effort. But when it's done, you reap the benefits, and those benefits are what you must focus on now. Now, the last belief, what you don't want to believe, I hope that we don't run into many of these, because when you don't want to believe something and it is something that is fairly true or reasonably true or needs to be true for you in order to get the result you want, you're going to have a very big disconnect. If what you believe right now gets in the way of what you need to believe, in other words, you find out that, well, you know what, I don't want to believe that women are easy to walk up to and talk to. I don't want to believe that, because all I ever see is women that are difficult to talk to. I just can't imagine that, so I don't even want to believe that. You see what happens there? I mean, yeah, maybe there's a part of you that would like to believe that women are easy to talk to, but from evidence that you've reinforced, and it may be very incorrect and improper evidence, you may already find yourself resisting that belief system. You might be finding it right now, in fact. Are you feeling that? Are you feeling that resistance of, you know what, I don't know if I can believe that? Well, let me tell you one thing. Just put aside your own judgments, your own perceptions, your own need to hold on to an identity that is made up of your beliefs, and we can go forward. Beliefs, unfortunately, make up most of people's identities, and as a result, when they're incorrect beliefs, their identities are false as well. And that's a scary concept, man. I don't want that. I don't want to think about that, you know, I've built my life on incorrect beliefs. Nobody does. That's why I don't build my identity on those beliefs. I build my beliefs on my values, the things that are important to me, and I do my best to maintain them, and I do my best to keep looking at evidence that may change those beliefs later on. Hey, I could change my beliefs. I think I have found some pretty good ones, though. That's why I'm sticking with them for the time being. Okay, so next is negative rehearsal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say no negative rehearsal. Let's talk about the syndrome of bad practice. The syndrome of bad practice is simply this. When you're anxious or you're not in a good state, that is the worst time to make yourself do something. In other words, recently I've actually had this happen to me where I haven't been in such a good headspace. You know, I've been trying to get this program done. I've been trying to complete everything. I found myself, working with my affiliates. I've been trying to get my name out there as far as I can. And some days don't go as well as others. Let's face it. Some good days are good. Some bad days are bad. And when I get done with that day, usually at the end of the day, I like to play guitar. And what I've noticed is, yes, whatever my mood is or whatever my prevailing condition, the emotional tide of my day is going to somehow creep its way into my playing, how good I feel about the music I'm playing, how confident I feel when I'm picking those strings, okay? And what happens is, if I keep practicing in a really bad mindset, in other words, if I pick up a guitar and I have this belief or this gnawing anxiety inside me of, oh my God, if I pick this thing up, I'm going to be making mistakes left and right. I am just not going to be able to play this well today. Well, guess what? Even if I am able to play pretty good that day, that belief system is starting to color my playing, and I'll be actually embedding bad beliefs in my practice. You don't want to practice things when you're not feeling good. That's simply it. In other words, and this has come out in previous interviews, one of the things that you don't want to do is, if you just picked up the guitar today to start learning how to play, would the right way to do it be to put you on stage in front of a 10 million screaming fans crowd and have you play the Star Spangled Banner? Well, no. Even if you had just learned it that morning, that's not the way to practice. That's not the way to play. All the best guitarists simply picked up the guitar, played as best as they could for as long as they could, until they got good enough that they didn't even notice the fact that they had any anxiety about it. In other words, they practiced first. They got good enough to where they didn't have gnawing anxiety every time they picked up a guitar. Okay? Just imagine what kind of anxiety you'd have if your first day being taught guitar was to stand in front of that audience of 10 million people and play the Star Spangled Banner. Would you want to pick it up again the next day? Especially if you had to go out and do it again. Even if it was in front of 5 people, you would feel very intimidated. Matter of fact, you probably would feel even more intimidated if it was just in front of 5 people that you knew, wouldn't it? So when you're out there and you're, out in the field, and if you're having a bad day, or if you're just having a bad mood, or you're not feeling well, or your state in any way is compromised, do not practice. Don't do it. Wait until you have the ability to rehearse in a positive mindset, in a positive state. That's what you must do. If you rehearse negatively, you'll really hurt your game. In other words, if you force yourself to go out there and talk to women before you've really laid the groundwork of getting consistent success and even just walking up and saying hi to women, you're going to find problems. and they will haunt you because of the fact you're actually embedding those into your rehearsal. It'll become part of your rehearsing. You'll feel that anxiety. It'll become an NLP trap from which you can never escape. Now, the awareness trap. When guys want to learn a lot of stuff about pickup and attraction and seduction and approaching women,